Hello, everyone, and welcome to RE Technologies Power eProspecting Made Simple webinar. We're really excited to have you today and to have our friends from Home Actions help us participate in this. And first, I'd like to introduce all of the players that are going to be on the call. If we could switch to the next slide, I can show all their lovely photos. So first, it's me. I'm Marilyn Wilson. I'm the moderator today, and I'm the co-founder of RE Technology and one of the partners of the WAVE Group, a consulting firm here in the industry. And we're really lucky to have Melanie White with us from Coldwell Banker in Georgia, Charles Olson from Keller Williams in Brooklyn, and Hill Solinsky from Long & Foster down in the Mid-Atlantic region. And last but not least, we certainly love to have with us Albert Clark. He's the president and the co-founder of Home Actions newsletter service. So he's going to tell us a lot of neat things about that today. So let's just jump in and let's get talking about it. So the first thing that it's always helpful for us to just get some perspective about, why does it make sense to stay in touch with clients and potential clients and new clients and everybody in our sphere of influence. And here's really some key points that NAR has taught us over the years. The first one is that top producers get 70% of their sales from their clients and from their sphere of influence. So it's an absolutely critical part of a program to make sure that people can stay connected with their agent, that they continue to understand what they're thinking about and share their expertise, learn about what's happening in the local market. It's just a really critical tool. Here's another important part and something that you'll learn about how Home Actions can really help you with this, that top producers not only have databases, they have very large databases, and importantly, they have them organized, they have them clean, they have them updated, and they have them in one place, which is always a very difficult thing to do, so that they can leverage that database and that they can reach out to people in a variety of different ways. Some great stats that NAR shows us that 86% of people that talk about their satisfaction with their realtor are very happy with them after the transaction, yet only 23% use that same agent again. Well, why is that? There certainly are some reasons where they might move to a new area and things like that, but a lot of it is because we just don't stay in touch with them as much as we should, and so the relationship that during the transaction can be very, very close and can be very intimate can be changed completely when you don't talk to them anymore and you just leave them and don't keep a relationship going. And here's a really interesting one that very few of your clients, even those maybe that you talk to, are going to visit your website very often. They may come in once in a while if they had a question, or they see a home for sale and they might want to see more about it. But the reality is they're not coming to you. And this is true of all of us, right? When we connect with companies, a lot of times it's because they reach out to us. And so it's the same thing with your clients. You have to reach out to them for it to be effective and for them to learn about you. And once you do, you'll hear from some of our panelists today that they get all kinds of feedback and all kinds of great kudos for the fact that they do reach out. And not only reach out, but reach out with meaningful information. So let's switch to the next slide and we'll talk a little bit about that. So what's really the #1 problem with prospecting? And we all know, any one of us that are in sales, prospecting is absolutely the key to success. If we don't prospect consistently, we will not have a business. If we don't put people at the top of the funnel, there won't be many coming out the bottom. So not keeping in touch with them on a consistent basis, and again, not just with things that they don't care about, but with things that really are meaningful and important to them, can help you stay top of mind. If you don't do that, guess what happens? Somebody else might do it. And here's the realities of the kinds of things that happen. Somebody might love you, but they just can't find your business card for whatever reason. They might have met you at an open house and they've lost it. Or they do have the magnet that you sent them a couple years ago, but they get in the refrigerator, they get rid of it. Or they just, for whatever reason, whatever type of contact that they may have had with you, this happens all the time. Somebody meets you on the phone, and this may have happened to some of you on the call. You lose your phone, or you don't back up the contacts on your phone, and then the phone gets broken or it falls into a puddle, and guess what? All those contacts are gone. So it's critical that you have a database that's up to date and that you have a method for staying in touch with them on a regular basis. Okay, next slide. So here's what a lot of people have been doing over the years, and some consumers really don't like this anymore. That we've had things that I guess I would call fun, recipes or how to pack for a moving day or latest sports scores or sports schedules and things like that. And they're not bad things, but really at the end of the day, consumers are so busy today. They get so inundated by conversations and by topics and social media and newsletters and emails and everything, that the only way you really break through is to give them something that they really care about. So things like, what's happening in my marketplace, what's happening in Washington that might affect my home ownership, what's happening with taxes locally, what kind of ordinances are happening, all kinds of things that truly affect what's going on in their neighborhood and truly affect the potential value of their home or their ability to buy or sell a home, mortgages and things like that. That's the stuff they really care about. So it's kind of time to get past some of the more fluffy things that we've done in the past and get to something that's really meaningful. And that's really what the product and the programs that you're going to hear from our panelists about today is all about. So one of the things that's really exciting to think about is there a way for realtors to become easy for me to say, homeowner advocates, right? So are there things that we can do to help them? And if you think about it, any of you that are members of the National Association of Realtors on your local boards, that's the core focus of what we do. And I know that realtors care a lot about helping consumers be able to keep it and stay in their home, have the right kinds of home ownership rights, flood insurance. You see all the kinds of things that are talked about. They need help to understand what's going on with those things, and they need to know that you really care about those things on behalf of them. So to be able to talk to them about meaningful topics like that and things that they really care about and things that are really going to make a difference in their lives really shows that you're serious about their business and that you're really their home ownership and their home value consultant, not just somebody that was trying to sell them a home a few years ago. Okay? Next subject. Next slide. So first, I'm going to ask you, if you could, just that you see a quick poll that just popped up on your screen. You currently have an e-newsletter product. So we're just trying to get a sense of, who's on the call and what kinds of things that they have. So if you could tell us yes, no, or if you're not sure yet, that would be great. And then we'll move on in 1 second. Okay, well, hopefully everybody's answered that. Thank you very much for that information. That will be very helpful for us. Okay, now we need to go back to our screen. There we go. Okay, so I'd like to now talk to Melanie White. She's awesome. You guys are going to love her. She's a sales associate from Coldwell Banker down in Georgia. And as you can see, she's really good at what she does. She's the top 2% nationally for them. She's been in their Diamond Society. She's a life member of the $1 Million Club, and anybody that's from Coldwell Banker knows how hard that is to get into. And she's also part of the Previews International Specialist. So she does some really neat things. So Melanie, thanks for coming on and talking to us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. So you obviously have proven that you can break through the crowd and have done some things really excitingly different in your business than others have. So tell us, why is it that you think it's so important to have a product like Home Actions, and what something like this has done for your business?
Well, like the screen says, I've been in the business for many years, and I've tried a multitude of marketing materials, from the recipes to holiday cards, putting out flags for the 4th of July, and that's given me some success, but I needed something more consistent. And especially with net, I needed to be in front of my sphere consistently.
Gotcha. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I've tried newsletters before, but they weren't to the quality that this newsletter is.
Okay, and tell us about that. Why is this one different?
Well, the newsletter is just filled with a lot of useful information, and not just for people who are talking about houses. I mean, we've had tax information in there because we've got tax season coming up. I have to say, one of the best things that Home Actions has done and that Al Clark has done is my broker for the last year has been after his top agents to clean up their database. And none of us had done it. It is so difficult to clean up your database. I think I had about 3,000 people in all of my databases. With Home Actions, all you do is send them your database, and they clean it for you. They totally clean it,
great.
And then they send everything back to you, so you have a totally clean and scrubbed database. It's awesome.
That's great. So they really saved you a lot of time, I bet, with that, huh?
Well, considering we've been encouraged to do it over the last year, and none of us have ever done it, and now it's been done for me. Of course, the other people who aren't a part of this newsletter are a little jealous about it. But the newsletter reaches everybody that I need to in my contact list every 2 weeks. It's a super newsletter. I have the ability to add local market reports, and it makes me look like I'm an advocate and an expert.
That's great. What kinds of feedback do you get from your clients when you send it out?
That it is top-notch and it sets me apart from other agents.
That's great. So do you think that has helped you with your referral rate? Do you think by putting this out that you've gotten more of your clients back for the second and third programs with you?
Absolutely.
That's great. Okay. Can we switch to the next slide and we can just show Melody's newsletter because it's really nice looking. There we go. Okay, so tell us about this. It looks like the newsletter helps to drive to your CMA request page. Tell us how that works.
Well, because everybody wants to know the value of their home now, not what it was a few months ago, and not what the entire city is, and not what the entire zip code is. They want to know what it is. So if you click on your home, what is your home's value, it takes you to our first multiple listing service, and you can put your own zip code and you can put in your own address, and it will pull up and give you a value of your home.
Wow, that's great. Do a lot of people use that?
Well, because the newsletter is so great with their reports, I can see how many people have opened the newsletter, how many clicks have been on the home's value, and I've had quite a few people click to see what their home is worth.
That's great. So you can get analytics on everything on here. You know exactly which kinds of articles that your clients like and which ones are getting you the most energy?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's really helpful. And you've had other newsletters in the past, I think you told me, right?
Yes, I've given that a shot.
But this one you think works a lot better for you because of tell me why you think it works better.
Well, because I don't have to do anything, number one, and because the content is so much more advanced than most of the other newsletters that go out from other agents.
Got it. Okay, good. Well, that's great. Well, that's good. Is there anything else, any other advice you might want to give to our audience about how to use a newsletter like this effectively?
Just to be sure that you pull all of your contacts from Trulia, from Google Mail, from LinkedIn, all of your contacts. You want to pull everybody. The one thing I did was I did delete the agents because I didn't need them to get my newsletter. And then Home Actions cleaned up. If sometimes I'd have a name here, an email here, a phone number here. They pulled it all together so that I have one master list. That's great.
Terrific. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Melanie. And I hope you have continued success with Home Actions and with your business. It sounds like you know what you're doing and keep doing it. There we go. Okay. Well, now we can get to talk to Charles. And Charles is the associate real estate broker for Keller Williams in Brooklyn. And he's a really neat guy. He's a pretty tech-savvy guy, you'll see. Charles, maybe just tell us a little bit about your background because you've done some really interesting things. And we'll go from there.
I started in real estate back in 2000 where I worked for the Corcoran Group and helped build their website. I actually led the team that developed Corcoran.com, which was one of the most forward-thinking websites out there during that time, right, when the Internet was really taking off, and we were doing things on a real estate website that many of the companies had never even really thought of doing before on a real estate site, and developed the whole back end and all this technology, ability to send newsletters, all the infrastructure, all the technology surrounding the web marketing, email marketing, things like that for the company. And then went on to do the same thing for Douglas Elliman, also in New York City, before moving on and starting to get into real estate myself as a profession on its own.
Now, for those that don't know, the Corcoran Group and Douglas Elliman are two of the most premier and prestigious real estate companies in New York. They're very, very well known and very, very successful, and so Charles had a pretty prestigious position. He's very humble about that. So tell us now, you switched over to becoming, went to the dark side, became an agent.
Yep.
And it's interesting because you are obviously more tech savvy than average, but you've chosen Home Actions. And tell us why you think this program really works for you and why it works for other agents that you know.
Well, There's two main reasons why I like Home Actions. The first, one is, they're both important, so I'm not saying one is more important than the other. The first is the content. The content is the best content out there. It's really topical. It's meaningful. Most importantly, my subscribers, my sphere of influence, love the content, and I get positive feedback on it. It's not just, turn your clocks back, or lawn care tips. That's a lot of the canned package newsletters out there. They talk about caring for your lawn. I'm in New York City, where people live in apartment buildings and co-ops, and they don't have a lawn. So when I use that generic canned content for many of the other newsletters, people would look like I'm insane, because why are you sending me lawn care? I live in an apartment on the 35th floor.
Okay.
So the content really hits home to people. It contains articles that people could use in their everyday life. The second reason why I love Home Actions is, even though I used to be a tech person, I don't want to have to worry about the technology of it. I sent my email list, and I have over 4,600 contacts in it right now. I sent it to Home Actions. They take care of everything. They clean it, they scrub it, they load it. I don't have to worry about duplicates. I don't have to worry about anything. I just send them a list. I send them an Excel file, and all I know from that point forward is that all of those contacts then get my newsletter. It's really hands-off for me. Even though I did the IT and technology, I much prefer being a real estate salesperson, and this is what I'd love to do now. I don't want to have to worry about massaging data, cleaning data, uploading data. It's not my thing anymore. And I know when I give it to Home Actions, it's being done correctly, and everybody's going to get my newsletter.
Yeah, that's a huge time stamp. Charles's newsletter, because this is really neat looking too. But I just want everybody to make sure they heard that. So do you have how many people in the database?
I have over 4,600 people enrolled in my database. And these are people that, in my sphere of influence for, I've been in real estate since 2000, but before that I've had vendors and contractors and people I've done business with locally. I've kept all those names and numbers and email addresses over the years, and so everybody who was in my database just got enrolled in it. And people love the content. And I know people love the content because I have a very low unsubscribe rate.
Yeah, that's an important number. Yeah, and that's another number that I think you get from Home Actions, right? They'll show you how many people have.
That's right. They show me my unsubscribe rate, and I have a very low unsubscribe rate. I don't know what the number is right now, but I know it's a very low number because people enjoy the content.
Now, this is another interesting thing of the way that you leverage this, that you're very much about running. That's a real passion for you, right?
That's
Tell us
correct.
about how you share that passion with the members of the readers of your newsletter.
Well, I branded myself as an endurance athlete, and real estate for people on the run, or going the distance for you. I do major endurance events like 508-mile bike races or 100-mile running races, and that's part of my pitch. When you hire me, I will go the distance for you. I won't stop. I'm very persistent until I get the job done that you hired me to do. And I just branded myself around that concept. And people seem to like it very much. I get overwhelmingly positive feedback on my website, and I branded my newsletter to mirror my website, so I just have a consistent brand throughout.
Well, and this is a really important point for all of the listeners on the call to think about it. Whatever it is that you're passionate about is a really good idea to share in a newsletter like this. And the reason is we're all human, right? And if any of you work in social media, you understand that if you post something that's about business, you might get a little bit of attention. But as soon as you post something that's more human interest about yourself or your child or an award or anything that's more human, that's where you get engagement. People want to work with people that they like. And so it's important to think about that. And sometimes easier to write about. If it's something you're really passionate about, it's easier to put it down than something that someone says, well, you should really write about law. And if you're not interested in that topic, it's really difficult. So something to think about. And one of the reasons why Charles does so well with this newsletter is because he makes it his own. Now, Charles, one other question for you, too. Where does this fall? I mean, of course, realtors get bombarded with all different types of technology, and everybody's got the claim that it's going to be the best marketing tool that they could ever use. How important is this in your sort of mix of the promotional tools that you use?
Oh, it's extremely important. In Keller Williams, we promote like things like called 33 Touch or 8x8 campaigns, where you constantly reach out with a newsletter and then you follow up with a phone call, and you constantly touch people throughout the year. And the newsletter gives me a reason to call my sphere of influence. You know, it's like, how did you like my article? Was it helpful? Is there any feedback you could give me on it? You know, when I call them, I always have something to talk about when I reach out to them. It's, you know, I'm not just calling out of the blue trying to solicit business all the time. I'm talking about, you know, things that, you know, I provided to them. I'm coming from value. The newsletter allows me to come from value as opposed to just asking for something. I'm providing them something that they could use in their daily lives.
And a great, like you say, a great reason to call them. So now
Right.
you're talking about not just I'm so wonderful, but here's a great topic that we can just engage upon. And then, of course, the more you talk, the more they can trust you, and the more they understand how much you know about the local market, and it just naturally leads to better business, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I get business referred to me all the time. I mean, one of my best clients that I've had was a buyer referred to me from the guy who did my bike fitting. He referred you know, his client over to me. I worked for them on buyer agency and got paid buyer agency for them just because I was just able to establish that rapport with them. And you know, they hired me and my team, and they loved us, and you know, they're now clients for life. Really
That's great. Now, you know, and I don't know if you can email this number off the top of your head, but just roughly, what's your sense of the 4,600 people that you have enrolled? How many of them are, you know, current or past clients, and how many are people that you're trying to nurture relationships with?
Oh my God, most of them are people I'm trying to nurture relationships with. As an active real estate agent, I've only really been in the business for a couple of years, and I've been wildly successful. And I attribute Home Actions as a major part of the success because, you know, buyers that I get or sellers that I get, I subscribe them to my newsletter, and they come back to me. They remember me. I'm in front of them. So, you know, just from people that are my Mets over the last couple of months to a year, I might have met or touched somebody, you know, either given my card or got their contact information about 6 months ago, a year ago, and then, you know, they're not hot on the market. They're not an A buyer. They may be a C buyer, but then when they become an A buyer, they call me back, and that's when I converted it into a piece of business.
Gotcha.
And then, you know, everybody else is my sphere of influence that I've built from like 15, 20 years of being out in the business world, and you know, it's you know, I'm seeing the results paying off every day going forward.
Wonderful. Well, that's great to hear. So, again, for everybody down the call, think about that. This isn't just to keep the people that you've already engaged with. This is to think about and to bring a discipline to yourself of wherever you are, getting that contact information and remembering to send it over to Home Actions and get it loaded up here can just make this product more and more and more valuable. And any newsletter tool that you use, but particularly this one.
Can I add one thing? Just
Sure.
you probably have more sources of contacts than you might realize. You know, I mean, I'm fortunate that I have two wonderful children, and they've gone to school. I've had email addresses of parents from their fellow students. They play Little League. I get email addresses from them, and I meet these people, and I speak to these people. I subscribe to my newsletter, and they love it, and they thank me for it when I see them at the next game or see them at the next school meeting. You got to look everywhere for your audience, and every day I'm adding contacts to my database. It's all people that I meet, you know, so just think far and wide about who you could be adding to it and where your sources are, and you'll be that much more successful.
That's great. What other sources do you use? I'm sure that sounds like a good one, but with what other kinds of things, just to give people some ideas that they can think about too?
Well, I subscribe to Zillow and Trulia, so all buyers that come from there, I subscribe. Anybody from my children's school or Little Leagues, all my business contacts from over the years, all my current clients, all my referrals, everybody. Just if I meet a lawyer, he goes in there. If if I'm walking down the street and I meet somebody, they'll go in there. One of my best contacts has just been I engaged a conversation with someone who liked my car. I bought a brand new Fiat, the four-door Fiats, and this guy flagged me down, and I just, you know, I gave him my card. He gave me his card. I subscribed to my newsletter, and it's like now we're forming like a business networking group together because he appreciates the fact that I come from value and he wants to come from value, and now we're in business with each other and referring clients back and forth to each other. So it's, you have to do your job in order to build your database, and then once you build your database, come from value with your database, and that's what Home Actions allows me to do.
That's great. And do you get some of your runner friends to join as well?
They get some of my runners to join. I'm sorry.
Do you build your network through all of your running passions as well?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm on a mailing list and running clubs, cycling clubs. Yeah, I subscribe those people into my newsletter as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Charles.
You're welcome.
Well, let's move on to back over to Hill. Can we move to the next slide, please? So we have Hill Salinsky with us today, and he's an attorney as well as a realtor, so he's got a whole different background as well. And so maybe, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then we can talk about how you use Home Actions successfully.
Oh, thank you, Marilyn. Well, it's been fun. The newsletter has really opened a lot of doors that would not normally be open because of the consistency of it and the quality of it. Here in the Washington, D.C. market, we have a very highly educated population around here. And the market, the real estate, is also of high value. So the people that own the real estate really value it and care for it, and they want to be working with qualified people. I have a lot of colleagues who are also, as I say, highly educated, but very competent, especially in our company. But we want to be able to differentiate ourselves from each other. One differentiator I have is having a law degree in a background, but I've also got a publishing background. So adding commentary and adding content to the newsletter is another feature that differentiates it from one just going out on its own. I do get a lot of other newsletters from other people in the financial services industries and other industries, which are pretty canned. So when my clients see mine that has something that I've added to it, they really recognize it right away. Some of the things that I've added to it, go ahead.
Yeah, can we let's flip to the slide so we can look at Hills while we're talking about it, because you've got a lot of neat stuff in yours too.
Some of the content that I've added to it is really from other information sources that I get and read every day. I'll add commentary to the market, explaining trends and what the expectations are with pricing. I'll add links to market charts. Our company has market charts, and there are also market charts available through our MLS. I can also add infographics. And infographics are a very powerful tool because in a snapshot, the client can see the information in a different way, and they retain it better than having to read text. Some of the personalizations, I'll add a testimonial every once in a while. I'll talk about what our CEO sees the market doing. I'll add preparation tips. I can feature my listings on here and add links to the video tours. It's a great way to add something that's substantive, it's informative, and it's useful. My clients and customers who see my newsletter may not get back to me right away, but the next time I see them at a social event or a business meeting or a chamber function, the first thing they say is, "I love your newsletter, keep it coming." And they pass it on to their friends. Because there's a feature in here where my subscribers can actually pass it on to a friend and they can sign up. So I don't have to sign them up individually. They don't have to contact me. They can just get it passively. And then I'll hear from somebody that I don't recognize and I know I didn't put them in the database. They'll say that Dave referred me to your newsletter. They've signed up, which is great to see. So it's another way of expanding your sphere of influence and expanding your exposure to a larger group of potential clients.
That's great. How many of those types of pass-alongs do you get? Do you see that happen quite often?
Not often, but when it does, it feels good. It knows that not only somebody reading it, they're recommending it. And I don't expect that every contact I make is going to be a client. But what I do hope is every contact I make leads to another referral to somebody else that will be a client.
Gotcha.
So you have to look at it beyond the first step.
So this is just, how big a part of your marketing program is this? Is this a big focus for you as well?
It is the most consistent one I have. Every 2 weeks at the same time, every week it goes out. People expect it at that time. I don't change the schedule. I don't do it at a different time of day. They know they're going to see it that morning of that day of the week, getting ready for the weekend and things like that. So it's consistent.
Great. And where do the infographics that you talk about, where do you get those? Do you build them yourself, or does Home Actions provide those, or where do you get those?
No, I have another information service I subscribe to that provides them.
Okay.
They are dealing with real estate on the national level. But
Okay.
that gives my clients, a better perception of where we are here in this market in relation to others. It gives them another point of reference. So they'll draw it off of the price expectation survey, which is 110 different economists saying where prices are going, or they can draw it from NAR publications or press releases. So it can come from a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I see on one of yours you have quick tips from HouseLogic, for example. HouseLogic, for those that don't know, is one of the websites. It's a consumer-facing informational website that NAR launched several years ago, and that's got great content that any realtor can use. So that's a great idea. You don't always have to write your own content if you want something unique. There are places that you can take it from, and like Hill was saying, that if you have something that you find interesting, chances are the people in your local market may find it interesting as well. And by finding it for them and doing that work for them about market performance and things like that, again, what does it do? It helps you become the local expert and someone that looks like you're on their side. You're trying to find them information that's going to make them smarter and more prepared to be homeowners. So what advice would you give? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Hill.
I was going to say, Marilyn, one of the features that Home Actions includes in this, periodically they put in something called the neighborhood widget. And the neighborhood widget gives you hyper-local statistics and information dealing with your neighborhoods. You can put in your zip code and see what's going on in that zip code, no matter where you are in the country. Another feature is, as you say, HouseLogic, but Home Actions already puts that in there. So it's there for you already. It's not something you have to do independently. I focus my content on things that are uniquely from my perspective, which adds the other more depth to it.
So the newsletters are like anything. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. You can see that each one of our panelists today has put their own unique spin on it. Melanie talked about CMAs, and Hill is talking about doing these kinds of things. There's all different ways to put it to make it your own, and that's kind of fun because, again, the more that your clients really understand who you are, the more effective it will be at truly generating information and energy your way. So we all want people to call us, right? These are the kinds of tools that can help for that to happen. So that's great. Okay, now we're going to go over to another poll survey, then we're going to go turn it over to Albert. Okay, so this is just, again, another question, just trying to understand who's on the call. How interested are you in purchasing an e-newsletter product? And you don't have to answer it if you don't like, but if you're interested, we'd love to hear just kind of where you are in the process. Okay? Give you just a couple of seconds, and then we'll flip that back over to the presentation, and we'll turn it over to Albert. Okay, let's go to Albert Clark now. You can turn it.
All right. Hi, Marilyn. Albert.
So I'm going to turn the presentation back on. There we go. So Albert is the president of Home Actions, as I said. I'm going to turn it over to him, and he's going to show you more about this cool idea that he's got.
Thank you, Marilyn, and thank you for all the participants on the call today. We're going to spend a couple minutes now on the background and how we came to build Home Actions and some of the special features that are in our new platform. Recently, I guess about a month and a half ago, we launched a new platform, a totally rebuilt database, and all sorts of mobile-friendly technology that we embedded into the newsletter. But if anybody on the call remembers a software program called eNeighborhoods from years ago, I was one of the early developers there, one of the first 5 to build it. And at eNeighborhoods, we built the first ever electronic newsletter for agents because then, as well as today, many agents didn't have a delivery vehicle to get into the homes of all their clients and prospects. So we built the first ever newsletter, and I've been in that space ever since. Before that, I was a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. I was a homeowner advocate. I worked with Fannie and Freddie, NAR, mortgage bankers, and builders. And that's how I got my feet in the ground on this good content that helps people better manage their homes. And one thing that differentiates us from anything else in the industry is our penchant for creating content that helps people manage their homes. We don't get into stuff like buying and selling homes. That's for the agent's content. But what we do is we deliver tips, trends, and issues that impact their home ownership. So we built Home Actions about 4 years ago with my partner, Barry Friedman, and we've got several thousand realtors using the program now. We're dropping about 30 million newsletters a year, all highly branded and customized to the agent. And, of course, everything is tracked. So we'll be able to show you some of our new metrics in the back end pretty soon. And we have certainly all the branding for the national brands, depending on what brand you're with. And this just sort of summarizes, what we're all about here, which is keeping your name top of mind. Your national association does a great job of telling consumers that realtors are important to the transaction, realtor can be your friend, but at the end of the day, the average consumer knows 7 realtors. So what's going to differentiate your marketing and what's going to get you the call versus the other 6 agents that consumer knows? So what we're trying to do is build top-of-mind awareness for you so you become that go-to realtor. And if it was very easy to do, many of you on this call would be doing it now, but I can tell you you're probably not. We've been in offices up and down the East Coast and South and West, and the average agent just doesn't have the time, the systems, the consistency to do this kind of marketing. So they reach out to us and they say, hey, make me look good every 2 weeks. In fact, we just came across a study the other day, and what we found out was that about 6 out of 10 agents that use our program, as much as we encourage them to, never add any content. They don't put any listings in. They just want us to make them look good every 2 weeks. So they want to, set it and forget it program. The other 4 out of 10 are now bringing in their YouTube videos, RPR reports, PDFs, whatever they have, whatever they think is a valuable marketing tool, they can burn into their newsletter now, and we'll push it out for them on a consistent basis to generate more what we call soft leads. You'll be successful in email marketing if you do 3 things. Add every time you see an email address, get it in the system, whether it's our system or somebody else's. 2, add something personally relevant or something that's hyper-local. Consumers really don't care that home sales are up 12% in California, but they do care about what's going on in their neighborhood. So to the degree that you can help them with that and understand the marketplace locally, you're going to do a better job. And the third tip, or the third must-be, is the ability to look at these warm leads. Look at all your metrics in the back end that we deliver for you, and you'll be able to see consumers engaging in content and what they're clicking on and what they're opening multiple times, what they're sharing on Facebook. We have, again, the whole metrics program we'll show you in a few slides, but work the warm leads based on the fact that you're analyzing their behavior and what they're clicking on. So if they're clicking on your new home at 1212 Elm Street, might be a good time for an email or a phone call. Again, you got to work the warm leads to make it better at the end of the day for you. The newsletter goes out every 2 weeks, and some agents would say, well, everything goes out monthly. Why does yours go out 2 weeks? Well, we write our content every 2 weeks, and usually the main article or the second or third article is always something that's happening right now. So our content is fresh and relevant. It's never take the leaves out of the rain gutter because it's fall. We don't get into that kind of stuff. And the agent is always allowed to add 3 articles to the newsletter in positions 1, 2, 3. So if Janice Macias wanted to add a listing or a just sold or whatever she wants, she gets up to 3 articles that will help her provide, and then the newsletter goes out, and of course we track all that. Up on the top right next to her picture, you can see where we could add 6 or 7 links that go back to her website. So what she liked, and she scored lots of points on this one, is Fox Roach down in Philadelphia. They have a new widget on their website, which is, it's a couple pages down, but you click into it, pump in your zip code, and it will tell you what sold up to the last hour in that marketplace. So the consumer comes in, boom, boom, boom. But Janice doesn't want everybody going to foxroach.com main page, so we take the links from the newsletter right to that area in the page. They put in their zip code, and as you can see this link here, up comes what's happening in Southampton or whatever area she wants to put in. So as long as you have access to good data, we will help you, I would say, exploit that data. We'll help you use that data to score these points in building top-of-mind awareness for you. The next slide. Our content always goes viral, too. We have an entire social media game plan built into the content. At the bottom of every article, as indicated here, there's a Share This button. And when consumers click that, your branded article goes up on their social media networks, or as an agent, you could take it and put it on your Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all within 1 click. And we're also able to tell you which readers of your newsletters shared what articles on their social networks. So it's an extra feature in here for agents that know they should be doing perhaps better social media marketing, but they don't have content and they're just tired of putting up their listings. Well, now we've got something for you. This is just an example of some of our other articles that have run, and we have, as Hill mentioned, the neighborhood widget up at the top, school information, neighborhood demographics, to the middle there, local entertainment and events calendar. We'll show you that in a few seconds. So we understand what consumers want in a relationship with realtors because we're delivering it to about 1.3 million homeowners every 2 weeks. So they send emails back to us also telling us what they want and what they need. So we have a pretty good focus group there. Here's an example of Melanie, which we heard from before a little while ago. She just recently signed up with RPR, and she puts her RPR reports right in her newsletter. Instead of having to go and download a PDF or something like that most agents would normally use, she puts it right out in front of the newsletter, and of course, we can tell her who's clicking into this page. Here's an example of our events calendar, which we just added about 2 months ago. Your consumers can come in no matter where they are, pump in their zip code, do a little slider, 10 miles, 50 miles, whatever, and all sorts of events will come up on things that are happening in that area, whether it be sporting events or concerts or whatever. Here's an example of our neighborhood widget, 150 different data points. And why we put this in here was we found a majority of consumers, and your industry stats will tell you this, they're going to do their neighborhood research months before they call you. And they're going to do it on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, newspaper websites, whatever. All the information's out there. But it doesn't do you any good if they're searching on other people's sites. So we want them researching neighborhoods inside of your property, inside of your home actions. So we have this widget built into every newsletter that goes out. How do you get your contacts in? Now, we've been up and down the East Coast, as I mentioned, and we've been all over the country. And what we're finding out that many agents don't have a database. And they're not going to do any substantial email marketing if they don't have a database. It's not going to be consistent. So we actually engage the agent after they subscribe to Home Actions, and we'll help them build that database for them. So we'll help them get into AOL and Gmail and Earthlink and whatever they have, the MLS, clean all those contacts up, put them into a database, excuse me, put them into a database, and then we clean it up and then bring it into our system. One thing you're going to hear me mention a couple times now is the word exclusivity. Once your contacts are enrolled in your Home Actions database, no other agent in your office, in your town, or in this country can get those contacts in their database. If you're going to deliver something of amazing value to your clients, you don't want them getting the same thing from 5 other agents in town, and the only thing that changes is the picture. So when we started out Home Actions, we said, we're going to build such amazing value here that we don't want consumers getting this only one time will they get it from the first agent that gets in there. And of course, you can bring in lists of 50, 500, or 5,000. We have several agents with 5, 6, 7, 8,000 contacts getting serviced every 2 weeks. Here's an example of our new metric system. Many times an agent will ask us, and they'll say, hey, Al, how many, if I buy Home Actions, how many homes am I going to sell next year? And we really can't tell them that, and I don't think anybody can in any kind of marketing program. But what we can tell you is that we're going to develop this top-of-mind awareness. We call it relationship capital. Simply by delivering great content and getting your readers to engage in the content. So our new metric system allows you to take a snapshot of everything that's happening in your newsletter account, and we'll tell you we'll come up with these soft leads. I mentioned that a little while ago. These are people that actually opened your newsletter, saw the subject line, read an article, clicked through the article and some other resource, and we track all that for you. Again, it's very good to have this, we call it an ROI. This is a relationship on investment. This is what we're all about here, is being able to show the agent that your newsletter is going out, it's engaging, and at any given time you can come in here and see what's going on. So again, we're going to tell you, excuse me again, we're going to tell you how to get the most out of your system. We have, very frequently, we have webinars on best practices. So once you subscribe to our service, it just starts the process. You're not going to be out there all alone. Next screen, please. So we help you with every little step along the way. We help you create the database. We'll help you upload your list, add new members, add your content, and analyze the metrics. It's a simple system. So we know that if you're in front of more consumers on a consistent basis, you're going to get that top-of-mind awareness, that relationship capital. You're going to be the one phone call out of the 6. You're going to be the one that gets the call out of the other 6 agents that the consumer knows. So again, I mentioned 3 steps. Add as many email contacts as you can, whether it's our program or anybody's program. Every email you see, whether you know them or not, doesn't matter how you got them. Put them in, engage them with content, and then use the reports to work these warm leads. Now, Charles, that was on the call before, he can't call, the 1,600 people that clicked on his lead article. But a couple of them he will identify and go down the list and actually reach out to them based on the fact that they got the newsletter and read it. There's a couple different ways to order our service. We have 3 plans. One is a budget plan, an annual plan, and we have a plan for top producers that know they're going to get so much value out of our program that they want to lock in the best price. The top producer program has a payment system of $250, but for the first 4 quarters. So it will be $250 today, $250 in 3 months, 3 months, and 3 months, for a total of $1,000 for 3 years. Then we have an annual plan, a one-time payment of $395, which is a $100 discount off our website. The website's $495. So you can save $100 by ordering the program with the webinar today. The annual plan, $395. Next year, $395. The budget plan has a $95 setup fee. So you pay $95 today and $30 a month for a total of $125 today, and then in 30 days, $30. So it comes out to about $1 a day. So you can save about 33% if you go with the 3-year plan, save about 25% on the annual plan. So there's 3 ways to buy this, and we'll certainly walk you through these features if you can't understand them right now. So a couple minutes ago, you received an email from us with an order form and special pricing because you're on the RE/Tech Techinar. If you would complete the form, and also there's an email address on the form also for questions, you can reach out to us and say, how is this going to work for me in my local area? If you have any other questions, if you didn't understand what exclusivity was, which is the fact that you get your contacts in and get them locked up, we can answer all those questions for you. We have sales reps around the country. We'll actually come into your office. So there's many other options you can get here if you want to get engaged with us. But you can have your system up and running in about 2 or 3 days, and building that relationship capital is what we're all about at the end of the day. We all know that real estate is a referral business. People that you did a good job for will gladly recommend you if they know who you are, where you are, and how to get a hold of you. And that's what the last stat that I saw recently from NAR indicated, that most 22% of consumers, only 22% of consumers can remember their agent's name 2 years after a transaction. They know their doctor, the veterinarian, the podiatrist, whatever, but they have trouble coming up with the name of their realtor. And we think that's a shame, because you guys did a great job the first time when you met them and when you delivered your service.
Hey, Albert, I wanted to cut in for a second because we've got some questions from the audience that I wanted to ask you. So the first one is, would you consider this sort of like a blog of sorts? Is it kind of the same thing? Oh, actually, let's go to the poll first, and then we'll do the questions. But while you're doing this, currently, how many email systems do you have your contacts stored for those that are on the call? And then while you're answering that, I'll ask you the question. Question was, is it kind of like a blog in the sense of, it goes out regularly to people? Would you kind of categorize it kind of like that?
I remember when blogs came out, that was going to be the silver bullet, right, for agent marketing. And the problem with blogs is people have to remember to come back to the blog. Ours is, I'd like you to consider our system more of an emailable website. Everything you would want on your website that you know no one's going to look at because they're not coming to your website, everything you would have on that website, merge it with our content and widgets, and push it out to everyone you know consistently every 2 weeks. So I wouldn't say we're a blog because a blog is limited to what kind of content you can deliver, but think of us as an emailable website.
Okay. And another question, and maybe you've talked about this, I think, since we got it, but let's just summarize it. One of the person on the call said that I don't want to have to add any content to it. I just want it to go out every 2 weeks. What kind of content? Maybe just summarize what kind of content that they get automatically without having to do anything. Well,
we write 6 articles every 2 weeks that are fresh and timely and, about home ownership, tips, trends, and issues. You'll never see an article in our newsletter that says, hey, it's a great time to buy a house, because for many it's not. So we get into taxes, identity theft, credit cards, credit scores. We get into everything that most homeowners need to be involved with and stay up on. So for agents that don't want to add any content, our newsletter goes out every 2 weeks, highly branded to them, and it's full of content. They don't have to, they can go in the day before and see what it looks like. That's fine. If they want to add an article, that's fine. But many agents today are just happy to get their name in somebody's inbox on a consistent basis. We do so much more than that. But it's the average agent isn't even getting their name out there on a consistent basis, and we think that's a shame.
Gotcha. So here's one. People that use newsletters, that use those kinds of things, know that it's all about how many people you get to click through and read it, right? And industry standards for newsletters across not just real estate but in general are usually like, if you do good stuff, between a 5 to 10% open rate where someone actually opens it. What kind of open rate do you guys see?
Well, it's all based on, we have agents that are seasoned that have nice lists. They're all cleaned up, getting 50, 60% open rates, and we have new agents that are putting lists together that are getting 20% open rates, which is, you're right, twice the average. But and they come back to us and they say, well, that means 80% aren't reading it. And I said, well, okay, let's go look at your metrics in the back end and let's see what we can do, change the subject line, add some more relevant content, put some market reports in. And then we see the open rates going up because people are getting used to seeing your locally relevant content. So,
I mean, 50 or 60% for those that don't know is awesome. Like, there are very, very, very few newsletters in the country that get that kind of click-through rate. Not and
I don't want to say that's consistent throughout through our footprint, but we have agents, seasoned agents, that are getting those kind of numbers.
Gotcha. So another question was, if I try it and for whatever reason it's not working for me, can I get a refund, or how does the pricing work?
You'll know in the first 2 launches that your newsletter is going to work for you, because you're going to be getting feedback from the consumers. And if you can call us, we'll work with you, and what we'll do is we'll change your subject lines. We'll help you. We'll actually help you add this local content, because we have access to it too. And we'll put some stuff in there, and then we'll give it a couple more rounds. But very, very often does an agent quit because it doesn't work. It quits because they quit because they only put 20 members in at first, right? And they put 5 in later on, and they didn't sell it. And of course they didn't sell a house the first week, and we never tell them they will.
Right.
So at the end of the day, all we want them to do is one more transaction per year, just one, that they would not have done if they didn't use our system.
Okay. Here's another one. Can I make a small change in the content to match the recipient's area, say local info based on zip code or city or neighborhood?
Yes. There's MLS reports. There's a whole slew of reports that you can get, most of them free, that allow you to pull up a report and save it as a PDF and build a link to it, which will help you in your newsletter. And we can build links to, your RPR reports, which is now starting to pervade the industry. And it's great information. In fact, when you pull an RPR report, it's as live as can be, because it sucks it right out of the MLS. So, yes, we enjoy helping the agents get hyper-local, because we know at the end of the day, that's what's going to increase their open rate and click-through.
Got it. And one of the panelists talked about how few unsubscribes that they get. Is there some sort of an average of what you see for an unsubscribe rate? That's one of your readers or listeners wants to know.
Again, it's something that we can't guarantee, but we have, I think it's a 4.5% or 4 to 4.5% unsubscribe rate. And I read where, and of course that's based on the, of course that's not across the board. That's an average. The agents the agents in the industry that are putting out, quote, real estate newsletters have about an 11 or 12% unsubscribe rate, because many people are not in real estate. But our base is in home ownership, not real estate. We're not about real estate. We're not about buying and selling. We're about enjoying the home and getting more value out of it. So now we've seen some lists. Go ahead, Marilyn.
One of the people wants to understand that exclusivity that you described. Could you summarize that again? Help them understand how that works.
When an email address is enrolled in your database, no other agent can grab that same email address and use it in their home actions. So we lock out. We help you not only build a pipeline, we help you insulate that pipeline. Because Trulia and Zillow and Realtor.com this year are spending $190 million on marketing to consumers to get them to get locked into their pipeline and not the agents.
Got it.
Okay? So $190 million versus your $1 a day, I think our $1 a day is a better investment. Because once you get these people in your database, go ahead.
Here's one more kind of around the same topic. One said, can leads from our database be linked to go directly into your system? And then another one said, we use Market Leader, or do we have to upload daily leads? So I think it's kind of about how to lead from
we're working on automating the addition of of consumer email addresses into our system. We don't have it right now. This is the first phase of our new platform. Subsequent phases are going to have, live linking. And you mentioned Market Leader. If they have the Market Insider reports off the Market Leader website, there again are those zip code reports that are great, but they're buried 5 pages deep in your website. Many consumers don't wake up in the morning and just run to your website. So we could take those Market Insider zip code reports and put them right in your newsletter, because all it is a link.
Got it. Okay, so those are all the questions. I'll just wait one more second. If anybody else has one, type it in quickly. Otherwise, we will wrap this up.
Sure.
Oh, actually, any referral fee for agent who told me about this? What?